Good, good. Okay. Also, there are a lot of statistics showing that millennials are looking at a job for a strong sense of purpose, and they are looking for environment where idea generation and open communications are promoted. Also, millennials are known for being lazy, for being superficial, for being narcissistic, entitled, and of course they have to grow up, work harder, suck it up, and so on. I got it right, I guess. That being said, I would like to, for a few minutes, to have a training with you on how to behave with millennials. And it's a video.
So, Marathon Industries, give me a breakdown.
It's a B2B company that provides cloud storage for Fortune 500 companies.
Chet, what did the market research turn up?
What? Oh, I Googled them, but the results were weird.
You didn't use the market research database that we spend thousands of dollars a month on, and that you were specifically trained to use.
I quit. This job is different than I thought it would be.
Stop. Does this situation look familiar? A new type of worker has entered the workforce. They're called Millennials, and they're terrible. Today, I'm going to teach you all about this new breed of worker so you can avoid misunderstandings in which you feel the need to fire them immediately. In the first reimagination we just saw, Mary makes the classic mistake of not reassuring Chet while offering overflowing amounts of praise.
Chet, you were so smart to use Google. That's the perfect way to start the research. You're so smart.
Great job.
So the conference call is scheduled for 10:30, so that we're on the same page. Let's do a pre-call about 9:30 a.m.
I don't understand. Noodles in the morning.
9:30.
9:30?
Sheryl Sandberg here isn't aware time exists before 10:30 a.m. To her generation, there's a mysterious dead zone after 4 a.m. and before they stroll into work 40 minutes late with their iced coffee. So take that into consideration for scheduling.
That's very difficult for me.
Fine, I'll take the call myself.
Oh, thank you.
Nailed it.
Here's that report that you asked for.
Thanks.
Morgan did exactly what was asked of her. Nothing more, nothing less. She expects a raise and promotion.
Thanks. Junior Executive Manager of Data Consulting.
Is that better than Assistant Manager of Junior Accounts?
Yes.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm gonna go call my parents.
Now you're getting it.
I need to take work off tomorrow for a mental health day.
Did you know millennials can actually be exceptionally creative with reasons why they need to miss work? These eccentric excuses are normal to them, and they will be to you too.
Sure, that's a normal thing.
Hi, I know I only get 10 days paid vacation, but that wouldn't count a 3-week Argentinian surf spirit quest, right?
No, why would it?
Oh.
Why don't you go home early today?
That's it. Any questions? Why even hire millennials? Oh, right. Well, millennials comprise 19% of the workforce. If none of them worked and their parents supported them, it would cripple our economy and China would take over. So unfortunately, it's your civic duty to employ them. Trust us, we want to fire them all too, but we can't.
Okay. Now, because we are testers and we like to investigate and debug stuff, I would like to look a bit deeper into this millennial thing. So I think what happened? Okay, a bit of delay. I think we must understand a bit the context of millennial generation. And I prepared here for you a statistic. It's actually a comparison between how millennials see themselves and how are they described by HR professionals or senior manager. This is statistics performed on 6,000 and something job seekers. So you all notice here that there is a huge gap between how millennials see themselves and how are they described by HR professionals. For example, millennials see themselves as being hardworking, okay? But HR professionals are saying that they are not. And I think we have here an issue of, let's say, perception or benchmarking. I'm pretty sure that for previous generations, hardworking meant doing overtime, working maybe in the weekends, do not take lunch break, stay late at work. That was hardworking. With millennials, the ethic of work is changed, okay? They do care about that work-life balance. And maybe those 6 hours that they are staying at job, they do feel that they work hard. It's just, I think HR professionals, senior managers, and even us, maybe we should change our baseline or our benchmark for what hardworking means. The same with you missed the funny training. The same with loyalty. Well, we all know that for our parents, for example, being loyal to an employer meant to stay there for, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years, and so on. But with millennials, they are being loyal to their employer for 2 years, 3 years, the most maybe. And the question is, well, why would you stay to one employer now for 10 years when there are so many opportunities? Our parents did not have all those opportunities. They had no choice. They had to stay 10 years. They had to be loyal for 10 years. There are on the internet a lot of statistics showing this, let's say, difference between millennial generation and baby boomers or X generation. But there are also a lot of statistics showing that that difference that we see with millennials being entitled, narcissistic, immature, and so on and so forth is not necessarily a difference between generation, but is a difference between young people and older people. So maybe next time when we want to jump into a conclusion and say, well, millennials are narcissistic and entitled, maybe we should ask ourselves, is he entitled or narcissistic or immature because he's young or because he's a millennial? Now, a bit more of a context. How many of you heard about trust economy? Nice. I'll explain. Trust economy is also known as shared economy. Is based on collaborative consumption, is using reviews and feedback, technology, and social media. And I'm pretty sure that you all used or heard about all the shared services, house sharing, car sharing, bike sharing, toy rental, and so on and so forth. This is a very good one, with trust is the new currency. I really like it. So this trust economy that is happening right now is, let's say, shaped by companies like Airbnb, like Uber, and by all the sharing services companies that has business sharing services. This economy is using, let's say, some new principles or values like transparency. Okay, when you are booking something on Airbnb, you know exactly what is there, how many rooms, how is the apartment looking. You have access to all the reviews. Everybody is able to see your reviews. So one of the principles is transparency. The other one is feedback and review. And the third one is collaboration. And millennials are used with such values or with such principles, and they will look for them also in the workplace environment. Now, I'll share a bit of my experience with a team of millennial testers. I'm also a millennial, but when I jumped in the leader position, the first thing I did was to look back at my teachers, I don't know, ex-managers and so on and so forth for examples. But I realized shortly that all those behavior or, I don't know, methods were not working with this team. So I had to explore and to discover myself what's working with them. So this is what I'll share with you. There are simple stuff, and I'm pretty sure that many of you already experienced them, but I'll just explain why they worked. So first thing that I discovered as being their manager was to not be their manager. Exactly. But instead be their partner. Millennials, they don't like to be told to. They don't like to be told what to do, but they like to be spoken with. Millennials are not so used with authority, hierarchy, I don't know, power and so on. If you look at the social media, everybody is equal there. All the users are equal there. There is no authority, there is no hierarchy. The only difference between users or social media profiles is just the reputation, and everybody is responsible for their own reputation. So again, millennials are used with, let's say, not having authority around them. And they'll look for it in the workplace environment. This partnership thing might be tricky, because I remember in my last presentation there was somebody asking me, well, how can you be their manager? How will they do what you told them to do if you are buddy with them? And I explained that partnership does not mean necessarily to be a buddy and to get drunk with your team. But partnership is using some values as cooperation, negotiation, freedom of arguments, and transparency. And these are the principles that I mentioned earlier with the trust economy. Also, millennials are looking for partnership not only from their manager or from their employee, but they are looking for partner in life, partner in raising a child, partner in career, and so on and so forth. So yeah, don't be their manager, because they don't care so much if you are a project manager, line manager, whatever manager. The next topic, it's about learning. And we all know all the materials, all the learning materials that are out there are free on internet, right? Millennials have access to thousands, millions of tutorials, webinars, I don't know, games, and so on and so forth. And again, they will expect this from their employer. We all know that there are a lot of companies that are still struggling with the learning process in their company. My ex-company also struggled with. So I'll show you now what we managed to change. First of all, how many of you heard about gamification in learning? That's pretty much. So gamification in learning refers to the learning process or using in the learning process games, playing or rewarding artifacts. And this is an example here. If you also look at the Google search trends for this topic, you will notice that there is an increasing interest for this topic starting with 2011. And it's still growing. Now, we managed to implement this gamification in learning principle in my team. And here is how we managed to do it. We call the initiative Testing Road. Are you familiar with this page? Is Microsoft SharePoint. Okay. Personally, I don't like this tool. It's not user-friendly at all. This is the wiki page of the testing team with our guidelines, best practices, and so on and so forth. And imagine that if I was not happy with it, my team was barely using it. I mean, so with a bit of JavaScript, we managed to transform this not user-friendly page into this. Basically, all the folders that you saw there, we make them like a bus station, and we used this page especially for our newbies. All the newbies had to go to the QA road, read all the information there, guidelines, and so on and so forth. And at the end, on the finish line, there was a quiz and a prize for each one of them. And it worked pretty well with the newbies. Yeah, I mean, this is what we could do with SharePoint. SharePoint has a lot of limitation, unfortunately. Okay, next one. Next one is another initiative, and it's called Testing Box. And the Testing Box is actually a box that we used with all our newbies. It's an onboarding kit with a lot of materials. Unfortunately, I don't have them all here. But I would like to share them, and if you want to take a look, have fun. Here are some personas that we are using for testing. We also have our testing process, test strategy, a puzzle for fun moment, Pomodoro for Pomodoro technique, and there is a notebook with a lot of challenges for each month of probation. Basically, each newbie had to, let's say, deliver some stuff at the end of each month of probation. And that one, it's a funny one, and we will see it later. The thing with this box was that it sent, let's say, the feeling or the message that we must have fun while we are learning, that we must connect, because all the challenges there that the newbies had to deliver, they were doing it in collaboration with me or with other team members. And it helped them for an accelerated learning. And millennials are looking for this. I have friends who, let's say, stood at one company, and after 6 months, nobody explained them anything, or no training was available, and they left. And it's normal that they did so. So the message that we sent with this box is that we care about you, we want you in our team, we want you to learn fast, and we want you to have fun. Next one. Oh, this is a competition that we had. 2 years ago, we revived our security testing process, and in order to keep the subject warm for everybody, we said the best way to do it is to organize a competition. And instead of calling it a hackathon, we called it testathon because it was for testers. So after 1 month of competition, we had like 7 security bugs raised, a lot of increased knowledge for security testing, collaboration, because my testers, when they were looking for security bugs, they were asking developers, architects, and so on for more details. And at the end, we had the winner and a prize, of course, a jury and all the things. Again, it was a funny way of promoting learning in the company.
Was it better testing or individual?
It was their choice. I mean, if they wanted to do it individually, it's fine. If they wanted to do it in a group, also fine. I gave them the freedom of choice.
But it was team-wide or like location-wide?
Yeah, it happened in the Bucharest office. So all the testers from the Bucharest office were participating to this competition. And they could use any material, any tutorial, any person that they wanted. Another subject, and it was, here it is at Maya. I hate this cliche of learning from mistakes. We hear it and we see it everywhere, and I hate it. But somehow we managed to give, let's say, concrete shape for it. And we created something called Bug Fairy Tales magazine. Basically, 2 times per year, we, let's say, deliver in our Bucharest office, we were delivering in our Bucharest office a magazine with production incidents or issues that people had during their software development process. It's related to storytelling. If you've been yesterday at the workshop with storytelling, it's quite similar. And Maya will pass it to you after she will.
But how do you make people contribute to this? That's also an effort, yeah?
It's true. The fact that also the managers reported their issues or their, let's say, hard moments in this magazine gave courage to other people also. And also, if they don't want their name there, we can keep them anonymous. Also, we had something called learning community. Basically, I created this learning community, and I said to them, you have the freedom to organize yourself how you want to. You have the freedom to, I don't know, the way of working, to choose the way of working that you want to, but you have to deliver all this stuff. And because they had the freedom to take decisions and to do things the way they want to, the results of this learning community was impressive. After 1 year of experimenting this, they managed to deliver more than we established at the beginning in terms of knowledge. They learn, let's say, more people learn performance testing, security testing, and so on and so forth. And at some point, I was playing the bad cop role, and I asked them, guys, do you still want to keep this? I'm not sure about the results. And they were like, no, we must have it, because you have to do this and that and that. So this is the result of that freedom of taking decisions or freedom of argument. Now, the third thing that we have to talk about is the new performance management that will be replaced by trust and feedback. There are a lot of companies giving up to the standard performance management process, where you receive feedback once per year from your manager about your work and so on. Companies like Adobe, General Motors, Accenture, and so on. And instead, they are replacing it with apps that can provide real-time feedback, weekly reviews, analytics, and so on. Millennials are used with constant and immediate feedback. If you look at the social media, right, you post something on Instagram or on Facebook and you immediately have feedback if it's good or bad. And even though people are saying that millennials are wussies, that they want to know how are they doing, like, I know, daily, weekly, and so on, I think that this is a good thing. Imagine if you have like a business, I know, a company selling something, and you would receive feedback from your customers once per year. This is crazy, right? I mean, and I have here a few companies offering services or platforms like real-time feedback and so on, if you're curious about it. Or you can do it in the old way, just have a kudos wall with feedback from and for your team. As a recap, so be their partner and don't be their manager. Look carefully at the new learning and transform that standard classical performance feedback into trust and feedback. Yeah. And even though, let's say, we don't agree with everything mentioned here, I think there is no other choice for us. We must support millennials. We must understand why are they behaving the way they do. We must understand the context, okay, the technological context, political, economical one, because this is, let's say, what is shaping the behavior of a generation. Now, what time is it? Maybe?
We have 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. I was preparing actually a debate time, but I'm afraid we don't have time for it. So maybe we can use our 7 minutes for questions or feedback.
So there's a 20-year period where everyone's called millennials. Have you seen a lot of difference between, say, the early end of that and the late end of that in terms of using technology, shared economy, that kind of thing?
Well, for example, my sister is 5 years older than me. If we are looking at that timeline, she is a millennial, but there is a huge, not a huge, but there is a difference between our ethic of work. Okay, she's that hard worker who is staying, I don't know, who is doing overtime, working during weekends maybe, and I'm on the other side, okay? I do take lunch break and so on and so forth. And the same with using shared services. She doesn't trust that much the companies with shared services, but I guess because they are still, let's say, new on the market. So yeah, there is a difference, and this difference will also be, it's easy to be seen between countries. For example, I don't know, millennial generation from Romania, I'm pretty sure that they are a bit different compared with Netherlands or Belgium. Because they grew up in different contexts. You know, technology was available in Netherlands at an early age. In Romania, it was not.
I'd just like to ask, what kind of feedback can you give through the app to the testers?
Well, like any kind. For example, he presented something on that day. You can go to that app and say you had a very good presentation, but you should improve that area and that area.
Is it much better to say it face to face?
Yes and no. I mean, if you're collocated, you can't do it necessarily. But even though you can say it face to face, but I think it's a good thing to log it there, because in time you can see your evolution. And you can have some, I don't know, analytics for your performance during 1 year, 2 years, and so on. I mean, the systems or the apps are not replacing the face-to-face feedback, for sure. They shouldn't, at least.
You mentioned that you also attach a Pomodoro timer. Yeah. How is it working? And did you use some other techniques to make people focus more, like to get less scared by notifications from Facebook, Twitter, and so on? So.
Yeah, this is a hard one, and we were talking earlier before presentation. I have one initiative or one idea that I want to implement. For example, I heard a lot of my colleagues complaining that people or younger colleagues during meetings, they are checking their phone or texting. And there was one colleague of mine saying we should have in all our meeting rooms a basket where everybody should leave their phone before entering the conference room or the meeting room. Do you agree with this?
I wouldn't allow this.
Yeah, me neither, because through that phone I'm connected with a lot of people. I'm connected with my parents, with my boyfriend, and so on and so forth. And I don't want to miss if there is something wrong happening with them. But what I would like to do is maybe at the beginning of each meeting allow 5 minutes or 8 minutes for checking your email, checking your text, and so on and so forth. And afterwards you can start the meeting.
That might be too structured.
Too structured?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Because then they'll do 5 minutes before the meeting and 5 minutes at the start of the meeting.
Well, I will try it and I will let you know. But I feel like, I mean, if you have like a commitment with them and you say, guys, we have, all of us, we have 5 minutes to do our stuff, personal stuff, and then we will focus here, maybe they will be committed. But I will try it.
Cool.
So yeah, this is one thing that I would like to implement in terms of disruptive, I don't know, notification and so on and so forth. But it's still a hard one with disruptive technology. Maybe you tried something and you want to share. How is it working for you?
What? Cell phone jammers? Signal jammers?
Ah, signal jammers. Yeah, that might be, well, good one. I was actually in a museum and they had this kind of cool. No, actually it's something else to struggle with. I mean, I personally try to turn off all notifications from like robots and some of that and so on. So try to limit them once people need something. So,
okay, we have time for one more question. So. Okay, we as test managers or leads of the teams, shouldn't we more concentrate on educating the millennials to become more mature and I would say more professional workers instead of adapting ourselves to compromise with their childish style of working and so on? Shouldn't we grow up and stand the point that they should be more hardworking or not complaining that much or doing so many other things?
Again, this might be the case that I said earlier. I mean, are they immature or are they complaining because they are young, because they have like 20 years old, or because they are millennials? This is a very tricky one, and it's a trap for all of us. But then again, by 2025, as I said, 3 or 4 employees will be millennials. So basically, millennials will shape the entire workplace environment. And even though we want to like resist to that change, we won't be able. I mean, I would cope with this new style rather than, I don't know, reject it.
Okay, thank you. Let's put our hands together for Nana.
Thank you too.